Okay, so let's say you want to build a page on the website. We've already done a tutorial video on how to actually add a new page and get it into the navigation. And the page we created was in the how-to section. It was called Turning in Grades. So once I have that page, I'll go ahead and click in Turning in Grades. And generally what I try to do is I have my editing page, and then I create a tab called, or a tab that just goes straight to the site so I can see what's what. And some of the things that you can do is that you can actually go back to the pages and you can look at a page that's already been built, like let's say the syllabi page. And let's say you're trying to make a button, or you're trying to make a section with a bunch of links to different things, but with icons. One way that you can learn how to build it is by deconstructing something that's already been built. So I can go into this how to syllabi page and go down to the bottom, and you can see that all of these blocks relate to, so here's the buttons that we saw, and then over here is where we say tutorial videos, and then this is a feature list, etc. So before we start building the page, it's important that you know that WordPress is weird. It likes things to be more visual than just straight paragraphs with text. If you want to do straight paragraphs with text, you can, but if you want to throw anything in there like videos or icons or anything that helps people kind of consume the information better, then you're going to be using things called like modules or widgets, or these, I just call these blocks. These are like building blocks or Legos that I use to create a page. And this allows us to have, like, this thing is taking up 1/4 and this is taking up 3/4. So if I go back to the syllabus page, you can see that I've created this column here and these have more space. So I have way more control instead of creating these massive long paragraphs in the way it's designed and for ease of reading. So as you can see, when this is deconstructed, we have this thing called a wrap, and it's green, and it's just basically saying like all of these items are grouped together. So I have a wrap right now that's explaining the different types of courses, or the difference between GT and non-GT courses. And then within that wrap, I have columns, and I can change how the columns are kind of divided out. I can do 1/2 and 1/2. I can do 2/3 and 1/3. I can kind of do whatever I want. So I'll show you that in a second. So by looking at a page that's already built, it helps you to see how things are working. So in here, I have a wrap that's wrapping around all the syllabus information. And this one doesn't look like anything, but basically it's a spacer. So if I come here, you can see that there's this gap between these, and I just thought this was too close to this information, so I added a spacer element. And then what I did was I added a fancy heading, and I wanted all of that to be the full width of this section. And then I had a 3/5 column and a 2/5 column, and this is where I say, okay, this is what a G2 course or GT course is. Here's a pre-filled GT template, and here's this example. And then I copied all of that. You can copy a section and put it over here. Now, why didn't I do 1/2 and 1/2? Well, I think because the GT course had way more information up here, and I didn't want it to like kind of not be a little bit equal across the page. So how does this work for one of our pages? Well, let's just build a page real quick. So if I go into all my pages and I go back to that one we just created called Turning in Grades, here's a couple of options. First, if you just want to straight type something, so this is where I can type something and hit update and come back to my page and try to find that Turning in Grades. So there you can see there's something. So you can see that these are actually linking. And I can make this a heading, heading 1. And I can do heading 1. That's going to give you the biggest font. You kind of only really want to have one heading 1 on a page. So if this is all about turning in grades, then I'll type turning in grades. Sorry. This is where I explain stuff. And this might be like midterm, and then some text, and then these are final grades and some text. So with headings, you kind of want to do for accessibility, heading 2, if these two things are equal, then they should both be heading 2. So that's why you only want to have one heading 1 on a page, because your page should be only about one topic. And then all the things that are equal should be equal headings. So if final grades, if I had like some other subheadings that are only about final grades, but they're all pretty equal, then those would be all heading 3s. So now I can do bulleted lists. I can do a quote if I wanted to. I can left, center, and right align. If you can't see the toolbar, this is like the toggle right here, so you can see more of the options. With this, it says there's pretty links, and these are if you want to do columns and content and builder, and I think that's it. So it's pretty basic. So if I hit update and I hit refresh over here, you can see that it is actually adding all that content. But if I want it to look a little bit more visual, that's when I want to use those building blocks that we were talking about before. So in order to do that, you can see that there are these page options right here. Now on this page, I don't want a sidebar, but if I did want a sidebar, then I could choose it here, but I'm going to say full width, no sidebar. And since I don't have a sidebar, I don't have to worry about what's in there. And then I can choose if I want a slider on this page, the kind of big image at the top that moves. I don't need that either. And I can also choose if I want any of these options. So I kind of don't really mess with those. I just basically pay attention if I want a sidebar or not. So then we're going to come up here in this page options, and it might look a little bit different because this theme is constantly updated. So I'm going to add a section, so grouped items. So this is where it's going to say add a wrap, add a divider, and you can edit this and you can choose what the background color is. So I'm going to come in here and just choose, I always choose garish colors so that I can see what they're doing. And if I wanted a background image, it says your image has to be 1920 by 1080. So talk to marketing if you have a picture that you want to be converted to 1920 by 1080. So you can add a background position and you can do all that other kind of good stuff. But I'm going to hit save changes and I'm going to hit update and show you what it looks like over here. So remember I deleted that content, and now can you see that nothing's happening? Well, the reason why is because yes, you do have a container, but it doesn't contain anything, so therefore we can't see it. So if I choose add a wrap, you're going to see that it's 1-to-1. So it's going to be the full width, which is fine with me right now. And it's going to say, do I want to delete this wrap or do I want to add another wrap? And if I add another wrap, or if I do add item, no, I don't want to do that. If I add another, why is it not doing that? Let me think about this. I have to remember. I can't remember. So for right now, let's just do add item. And these are all the different kinds of really cool things that you can build into here. So you can have an icon box, you can do an image gallery, you could have a feature box, an FAQ. You could even do a before and after, which I do all the time for my Photoshop stuff. But if you don't know what these look like, we use something called Bee Theme. And if you Google Bee Theme, and it's themes.muffingroup.com/B/splash for right now. This is the Bee Theme. And if you go to short codes, it's going to show you all the different short codes. So if I look at feature box, it's going to show you what a feature box looks like and all the different things you can do. These are all feature boxes. So here we have icon boxes, and there's 4 or there's 3 with the icon to the left of the information. You have icon box with images. You can have feature box that has this and you can tell the box is there. You can even have flat box with all these animations. And so it'll actually show you the short code and what options you can change about that. So that's a little bit much, but just so you know, it's just kind of helpful sometimes to look and see. So like fancy heading, I'm going to come over here and say, okay, I can have a heading that looks like this. I can have a heading that looks like this. So I'm just going to go over here and play with it. So I'm going to look for fancy heading. There it is. And usually you can look for typography and that'll narrow it down. Boxes, content block, where is feature heading? Content element. Yeah, fancy heading. So when I add this fancy heading, it's 1-to-1 in here. Now if I hit plus, it's not working. So basically when you hit plus, it's going to it'll say, what else do you want to bring up here? And it'll say what you want to change this fraction to. So if you want this to be 3/5 and you want the other one to be 2/5, you can do that. Why it's not working right now, I don't know, but we're going to have to figure that out. So if you hit delete, oh, see how it's going down and now it's 3 2/3. So let's say we wanted to do 1/2 and then we hit plus, it's going to add that there. So if I do add an item, and let's say I want this to be a block quote, and see how it's 1/4, and now I can do 1/2. Okay, so it's not broken. It just freaked me out that it kept saying JavaScript right here. So I can come in here and I'm just going to test this out. I'm going to put testing the title, and this is the content area of the title. And let's say I want, let's do icon and pick the dribble basketball. So I don't know what this is going to be like, but let's say this is where the slogan goes. And then click Save Changes. And then I'm going to edit this block quote. This is the content area and author name. So I just do this generic stuff so that I can see how this is going to look, and then I'll come back in. So I'll go ahead and hit update and refresh here. So see, now you can see that red that's happening. So obviously that's hideous. So I'm going to take that out, but now I can see where that kind of wrap background comes in. And now I can see a title with a dribble icon on the top, and this is the content area. So it looks like that subtitle doesn't work for this version of it. And then we see this is the quote, it's italicized, and then the author name would go here and it has a little person next to it. So now I can come back in and I can start fixing some of that stuff. So I'm going to go, actually it's this area. So I'm going to change this to a light gray, and I'm going to add some padding, which is like the space. See how it's like really touching right here? So if I wanted to come back in here and do like 25 and 25. So now if I hit Save Changes and Update, I can hit refresh. And now you can see that it goes full width, gray, and now we've got that 15 padding on the top. So once you kind of add the ugly in, you take the ugly out and you fix things. So I actually don't want an icon. Maybe I want a line, and I'm going to delete that icon out of there. And this is where I say, what is this page about? Turning in your grades. Okay. You must, let's see, you must turn in grades 3 business days after the last official date of class. That is like the big rule, so I want that to be the content under the title. So if they read nothing else, they'll read that. So I'm going to hit Save Changes, and I actually don't want this block quote. So you're about to delete. Do you want to? Yep. And I do want this to take up the full width, so I'm going to do that. And now hit Update and refresh. There you go. This is where the slogan goes. So now you can see once I chose that line style, all of a sudden the slogan is in play. So then it has this kind of line and whatever. So this is something you couldn't have done on your own visually, but if you use one of those short codes, you can. So hopefully that helps you to start creating content and just playing around and seeing what you can get from there. And that's basically it. If you want to add a section, like if I want to do a tutorial video and add it here, then I wouldn't probably put it with all the wording and the text and the rules that I'm going to put for turning in grades. I'm actually going to create a selection or section, maybe make it dark blue, and then put that here. So I did that, I think, with the syllabi. You can see, actually it's the distance. You can see all of a sudden I added this really dark, and then I made this like 3/5 and 2/5, etc.